planning department at the city encourages neighborhoods to have plan. We actually have a great neighborhood plan that people worked on really hard in our neighborhood in 1985, and it's a really great plan. It makes a lot of sense, which is nice, but it's only nice because the reality of it is that any time the neighborhood plan can be overridden or overruled. So we don't have any real as neighborhoods, as neighborhood councils, we don't have any real legal standing to do anything other than to sue after the fact. And so really that is what we're trying to avoid. So if we have legally enforceable plans, if neighborhoods make a commitment to really reach out to the neighbors, to really craft a plan that a lot of people a good majority of people are involved in, and then that plan is legally enforceable, that I think just solves a lot of problems for a lot of people. And truly, I think it solves problems for developers. That way they know going into a project what is going to be allowed and what isn't going to be allowed. If they get agreement with the neighborhood right up front, then they can just move forward with their project. It will give us an equal seat at the table. So at the time, the way it works now, if a developer wants to do something, they start the process with City Hall, and before the neighborhood is even aware that that's going on, they're like 6, 8, 9 months into the process. And so we really felt it was important to back that whole process up and get the neighborhood to the table right at the beginning. And I actually see this as a collaborative effort. I mean, we're by no means trying to tell people they can't build buildings, they can't develop. But what we really want to do is to have that development be in harmony with the surrounding neighborhoods and to reflect the values of the people who actually live in the neighborhoods.
I had a situation recently with an acquaintance, a guy who did the lawn for my mother. And he has no insurance. He's an honest man, works hard, has a business. And when he mowed the yard, he started limping, and then over a period of 6 months, a year, he could barely walk. He saved the money to do surgery to get his hip replaced, and I got him into Project Access to Care because the surgeon who he had saved the money to get the surgery to get it fixed wouldn't take him to surgery because he had no insurance, so he couldn't pay the hospital bill. I mean, just crazy stuff. And when they finally evaluated him, well, he had actually, it wasn't a hip that needed replacement. He had a metastatic cancer to the bone of his hip. And so now, instead of having a little problem that maybe if it had been screened out 10 years ago, he could have been fixed easily, now he's being treated for cancer and may not ever work. Well, what are these people worth? They're hard-working people. They can't afford insurance. I would take care of them.
I think about the river in some respects the way I think about some of my patients. They're just, you know, I take care of some very sick people, and kind of looking after a river that's also very sick and is a dying river because of the incredible pollution problems and because of the declining flow, the amount of actual water that's in the river. And there are, you know, ethical duties, moral responsibilities that I have to my patients, and I too feel the tug of moral duty, ethical duty to the river. I would say that when you look at how seriously afflicted this river is with its many problems and the remedies available currently through the regulatory process, say that the regulatory process is not saving this river. The river is dying, and we need to intervene in this river in a way that will have any hope of saving it. And we need new tools, and the hope is that the vision as articulated in this Bill of Rights will provide us those tools.
One of the important points in framing the amendments for workers' rights, both the apprenticeship utilization program and the prevailing wage for certain capital construction projects over $2 million. Existing state law already mandates that prevailing wage be paid and that 15% of the work be done by apprentices through a state-certified apprenticeship program. What Envision Spokane's amendments do is extend those public mandates to private construction projects. And the belief all along has been that private construction, private decisions have public impacts. That if there are private developers, private construction projects either looking to or agreeing to pay less than prevailing wage, what that does publicly is affect the local economy. What we do, I think, often, and I'm not sure if it's a function of this culture or kind of Western thought, but everything is compartmentalized and dichotomized. And I think what the people around the table at Envision Spokane who drafted this language and listened to the community said was that if we're talking about housing, we can't separate housing from healthcare. And if we're talking about healthcare, we can't separate that from the need to have good paying jobs. And if we're talking about jobs and wages, we can't separate that from the local economy and how reinvestment happens when local business is generated. And if we're talking about the local economy, we can't separate that from the local environment and the needs of the river and renewable energy. And so I think it's an awareness in the same way that we have this sort of bedrock understanding of what democracy means, even though we don't practice it. There is this existing awareness that all things are connected and related, but we're so practiced at dividing them that we get used to, this is a single subject. You can't talk about housing and the environment. You can't talk about workers' rights and healthcare. What Envision Spokane imagines and has brought to put on paper is, yes, we can imagine it, and if we don't, every one of the issues is gone and suffers.
Beyond the substance of the Bill of Rights, there is a process involved, and that process is one in which this community has an opportunity to really, to talk about its future. I mean, when have we really had a chance to, as a community, as its various elements, its parts, to sit down and to really envision what we want as a community. Those opportunities don't come along very often, and this is one of those. And we, as a community, really have an opportunity now, to seize our future and to shape it, and we should do so.